Hey guys, well I just posted up that video on making jerky over an open fire, and I know I'm probably going to get some comments about that I ruined that jerky or whatever, making it so brittle and so crunchy, but you got to understand the reason I did that is for long-term storage. You want zero moisture in that meat, pretty close to zero moisture in that meat for it to last a really long time. I bet you I could leave that out on the counter for 6 months and nothing, you could still be edible and everything. And it will reconstitute actually as you're chewing it. It kind of reconstitutes even in your mouth. So, and something else, I suffered from this a while ago. I don't have it too bad right now, but this TMJ, it's where your jaw gets super sore and irritated from chewing chewy foods. Jerky will do that real quick to you, the chewy kind. This stuff, it's crunchy, it just won't do that. And like I said, when you're making other things out in the woods or whatever, your top ramen or whatever, you can reconstitute it, even with the prepackaged dehydrated meals that you make yourself. If you buy some of the rice sides and some of the other stuff, if you are all rehydrating that, you put that jerky in there and it's going to be a pretty good meal. So for those of you who like the more traditional type jerky, which I do too, it's just I can't eat a lot of it because it makes my jaw hurt. This is an alternative way to make it. So I've got some of the meat that I didn't use last night. It's already cut up, and I'll show you a real easy method just to use. With this stuff, the sky is the limit. I mean, you can make your own marinades. You don't need to buy the pre-bought stuff. You can basically, I take a bowl and I just start dumping crap in there that I think would taste good. A lot of times I've used barbecue sauce, Worcestershire, A1, Heinz 57. I'll take raw garlic and then I'll take some onions and some seasonings, and I'll just put it in a blender, and it'll just be a big blend of stuff, and then soak the meat in it overnight. It's good to soak it in like a Ziploc or something where you can remove the air, and then kind of shake it up a little bit, or turn it over at least once, and marinate it for 24 hours. For me, I kind of like just the natural flavor of it, so I'm going to show you what I'm going to do for this particular batch. Okay, take a look at this stuff. Okay, my buddy George turned me on to smoked salt. I had no idea they had such a thing. And I went to the store a while back, kind of a specialty store. Man, I wish you guys could smell that. Holy Hannah. I'm going to get lost. I might need a moment here just to sit here and smell this stuff. Anyway, I went to a store and they had several different varieties of this smoked salt. And all of them are good. And I'll show you the other kinds I got too. But I'm just going to sprinkle this smoked salt over this venison. And I'm probably not going to be too stingy with it. I want to be careful I don't make it too salty. But I like a lot of spice. The older I get, and I've heard it's the same with other people, the more, I don't know if your taste buds die or what the deal is, but you tend to like a lot more seasonings on your food. Lately though, I've been kind of getting out of control, so I gotta be kind of careful I don't do it this time. Kind of liberally sprinkle that on there. And I'm just going to get a wooden spoon and kind of turn it around here. I could have done this while it was on the rack, but I didn't want it all falling through the grates. I'd rather have it in my bowl here like this. I might give it just another little pinch, just for good measure. All right, that's enough. All right, let's break out I'll show you the other varieties here real quick. Okay, these are the other two that I got. And they're both real good, it's just some of them are stronger than others. They're really good. Something else I got there, because I don't really have a lot of juniper or cedars in my area, was this stuff. It's juniper berries. These are not toasted. They're all, I mean, they're dried, but they're not toasted or anything like that I could tell. I've seen people use this spice and I've heard people use this spice. I thought it would be different than what it is. Basically, go out to a pine tree and collect a nice little nugget of sap and then eat it. And that's what these are. So that's why it's still a full bag. Okay, I pulled out a bunch more roasts. I still have another 4 or 5 roasts easy thawing out. This is just the meat from last night. So I'm going to make quite a bit of jerky. You guys can make this in your oven. If you don't have a dehydrator, just set it on the lowest setting you can put it on and then crack the door a little bit. You want that moisture to be able to escape. Also, you obviously don't have to use, venison or whatever, and you don't need super high quality cuts of meat. I know that if you take your venison in to have it processed and you want them to make jerky, the guys around me will only make the jerky from the really good, the best quality cuts of your deer, and that's on the hind quarters. Well, for me, I want those hind quarters made into steaks. So, and of course I don't take my stuff in, I do it myself, but I would never want jerky made out of the steaks. But you can go to the store and buy like round steak or something, and it's not really the highest quality of meat. You have to simmer it to get it tender, but it makes really good jerky. It's already cut basically into the 1/4 inch section that you need, and you just got to make strips out of it. This one was a little bit big right through there, but see, I did kind of slice it. It'll take a little bit longer, but it'll still be okay. According to the dog anyway, it's going to be okay. Alright, I'm just going to keep doing this and then I'll have a lid on it. And like I said, I'm going to keep adding to this once the rest of the stuff thaws out. Okay guys, this top bunch right here looks like some of it might be done. You can kind of see a little bit of moisture or something right there. I'm not that concerned about it. See how it's kind of, it's semi-brittle, but it's not breaking like the other stuff. I can feel that moisture in there. A lot of times if it's not done, you can taste the rawness of the meat. My wife's gonna like that. It's all nice and chewy, kind of melt in your mouth. That smoked salt didn't stick to it quite like what I wanted. See that? The outer fibers are breaking. This right there, it's not done. I can just pull that off. Not a whole bunch of this is going to be done. It's been less than 24 hours. And like I said, this is going to continue to dry out once you put it in your bag. That piece is done. Alright, I'm just going to continue, and see, that piece is real spongy. I'm just going to continue and remove the pieces that are done and put them in a plastic bag. I will store this stuff in the refrigerator. It's not dry enough for me to set out on the counter. I got room in my refrigerator. I got no problem with putting that stuff in the refrigerator. That's pretty good. Alright, I'm just going to keep going through this and separate the stuff that's done. I'm going to show you a little different method too, besides just sprinkling the smoked salt on there, which I got some more stuff marinating in the refrigerator. Okay guys, so I took some more roasts, I actually had quite a few, and cut them up into strips, and now I'm just marinating them. For me, primarily marinating them like this is just going to impart a flavor to them, but it also has another benefit, as it adds salt to the meat. You can salt cure it and then dehydrate it, and it's going to last longer than if you just dehydrated it. It's with that much moisture left in that meat, I can store it for a while, but it's not going to be long-term storage like what I showed in my other video. That stuff for my other video would be, I mean, that's basically kind of how they did it way back in the day, when they didn't, necessarily have soy sauce or A1 or anything like that. They may have had salt, but even the, like for instance, the inland tribes and stuff, if they didn't have salt, they could just dry the living heck out of their meat, and it's going to last for a long time. So all I did for this is just use some Worcestershire. This just happens to be some sort of organic stuff my wife bought. And then I dumped some A1 in there too. What's a huge ingredient for these? And by the way, a serving size of A1 is 1 tablespoon. And what does it have in there? It's got 280 milligrams of salt, which supposedly is 12% of what you're supposed to intake daily. That much is 12% of what you're supposed to have. This, you got a lot of salt in there. Same thing with this. This doesn't have quite as much salt, but I think it said it's got 3%. Yeah, 75 milligrams or whatever. 3%. But this serving size is 1 teaspoon. That's that much, okay? So there's definitely a lot of salt in here. Something else that will help preserve this meat, if you don't mind the flavor or if you like the flavor, is soy sauce. Soy sauce has a ton of salt in it, so that's good for it too. As soon as this other stuff's done, I'm gonna throw this on the dehydrator. Okay guys, just a couple of other things here real quick. If you don't have a dehydrator, like I said before, you can do it in your oven, set it on the lowest setting possible and crack the door a little bit. If you don't want to use your oven, you can use your barbecue. I have a briquette barbecue, so that's my experience. And you can smoke fish on your barbecue, you can do a lot of stuff on your barbecue. Take the briquettes, shove them all to one side, get them coaled up. Put your meat on the opposite side of the briquettes. And then on top of those briquettes, if you want that smoky flavor or something, you can put, soak your wood chips, whatever wood you want to use, hardwood, oak, maple, apple, stuff like that. A gentleman commented on my first video, don't use resinous woods. I totally should have mentioned that. Don't use pine, fir, anything like that. I've never smoked with birch, but for sure you wouldn't want to use the bark. And I would think that the wood would have more resin in it than what you would want. It'll just impart an unpleasant taste. So anyway, soak your wood chips, put them on the coals every so often. You'll get a nice smoky flavor with that. So I think that's about it. Just getting rid of some of that last year's roasts. You can obviously buy store-bought meat with this too. Those roasts, even though if you've watched my deer processing videos, even though I double wrapped them, it's been a year, they're starting to get a tiny bit of freezer burn on the outside. Now doing it like this will use them up. Now how long will this stuff last? The other stuff I made, I would have absolutely no problem putting that in a glass mason jar or a Ziploc bag, throwing it on my counter and coming back 5 months later and eating it. I really wouldn't have a problem with that. This stuff here, it's more moist. I've got room in my refrigerator. I'm gonna store it in my refrigerator. How long will it last? I've never had it last very long, to be honest with you. All those roasts is gonna condense down to a bag of jerky about like this, so it goes pretty quick. I have stored it, I've forgotten about it, and I've come back, I want to say a couple of months later, and it was still good. I really don't see a problem with that. And there's a lot of factors that go into that too, like how long will it take in the dehydrator? Depends on how thin you slice the meat. How long will it last? Depends on how much you salt it. Depends on how much you dehydrate it. It's just all something you need to experiment with. And like I said, I've never really stored it for too awful long because it's never lasted for that long. Everybody's always chowing on it. So, all right, hope you liked the video and take care. I'm getting sick and tired of this. All I ever do around this house is take care of dogs and cook for you. I mean, would it kill you to give me a little attention once in a while?